Hey everyone, welcome back. This video is going to be looking at Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde and focusing specifically on context and themes. So there's quite a few themes in the novel and the context is extremely relevant in order for you to be gaining those extra marks and AO3. So let's start. The author, Robert Louis Stevenson. So he was born in 1850 and died in 1894 at age 44. He was a Scottish novelist, poet, essayist and travel writer. During the Victorian era, it was a time in which people were very interested in the idea of horror. They also had very strict social and moral regulations and that were adhered to by people and can be seen reflected in the novella. Stevenson had long been intrigued by the idea of how personalities can affect a human and how to incorporate the interplay of good and evil into a story. This is the time period before psychoanalysis was made famous by Freud, so Stevenson was a bit ahead of his time. So its novel is closely linked to the Victorians' increasing sense of conflict between science and religion, which is one of the reasons why Stevenson portrays his main character as an upstanding scientist who was respected and liked. It's hard for you to respect and like someone as well as have them follow the religion you follow. Darwin's The Origin of the Species was published in 1859 and greatly influenced Stevenson in this novel. Stevenson himself was an atheist and did not believe in God, which makes it even more interesting that a lot of the novel focuses on science versus religion. It could show his own beliefs and his own lack of religion. So, Jack the Ripper. In 1888, the notorious Jack the Ripper murders occurred in London, and in the minds of the Victorians, they reinforced the idea of the Jekyll and Hyde duality of human nature. So Jack the Ripper was the name given to a Victorian serial killer who brutally murdered a number of women, mostly prostitutes, and who was never caught. The fear created by this unknown killer caused people to distrust everyone, especially as he was described as being highly educated or even of royal birth. To this day, people still don't know who committed those murders, and some people did do a direct link between the novel and the person who committed the murders, as in they were influenced by Hyde's behavior from the novel. So about the novel. The novel's about a man, Dr. Jekyll, who drinks a potion and becomes a different man, Mr. Hyde. At first he has some control, but eventually things get out of hand and his friends find out what is going on. Mr. Hyde also goes on to commit some terrible crimes and Jekyll feels he must stop him somehow. Themes. Reputation. So reputation was very important to the gentleman in the novel, as well as in Victorian era. Immoral activities and uncontrolled emotions would damage a gentleman's reputation. Utterson is wary of gossip and more concerned about preserving Jekyll's image. When Utterson is told about the murder and finds the half a cane that he knows belongs to Jekyll, instead of informing the authorities, he tells Jekyll to perhaps hide the evidence so his reputation is not ruined. When society values reputation over everything, it makes it difficult to know what people are really like. So Jekyll feels free as Hyde because he can conceal his sins perfectly. A good quote for this is, "Spring headlong into the sea of liberty." Obviously, when you are being watched and your behavior is being assessed and judged, it's hard for you to feel any sense of freedom. So him being able to turn into Hyde is something that Jekyll cherishes and relishes as well. Utterson warns Jekyll after the murder of Carew, and it highlights the fact that he cares more about Jekyll's reputation than bringing Hyde to justice for the crime. Quote that you can use is, "If it came to a trial, your name might appear." Again, this goes back to if people are more concerned about their reputation, it's extremely hard to trust and know who they are as a person. Dual nature of man. Jekyll believes that there are two sides to every individual. He even says man is not truly one, but truly two. And the two sides can be seen as both sinful and virtuous. This idea was revolutionary, and Stevenson puts it in the novel because he believed that people were repressing an entire side of themselves in order to conform to societal expectations. So without Hyde, Jekyll is virtuous and distinguished for religion. And Hyde is created because Jekyll wants to rid himself of sin rather than deal with it. The idea that instead of actually facing up to his behaviours and changing the way he is, he would much rather create a potion to get rid of them completely. However, that did backfire and in fact just turned him into a completely different person who had no inhibitions. As Hyde takes over, the Victorian reader is reminded of the evangelical belief that all mankind is inevitably sinful. This goes back to Adam and Eve's inability to refuse the apple and therefore causing her and Adam to fall out of the Garden of Eden. So Stevenson takes this further by implying that the sinful side may be stronger. Jekyll's appearance is respectable, but Hyde's evil is shown clearly in his displeasing smile and extraordinary appearance. Science and religion. Both Jekyll and Lanyon are scientists. They rely on rational methods and evidence. You could also say that Utterson is in the same group. As a lawyer, he has to rely on evidence and rational methods. So he's a good narrator in this case because he thinks similarly to Jekyll and Lanyon. However, Lanyon keeps science and religion separate, whereas Jekyll combines the two. A quote that you can use is, "That hard law of life which lies at the root of religion." This implies that religion and science can be intertwined successfully, but in this novel it seems to be rather hard to do. So Stevenson was criticizing the act of being religious in public but sinful in private. He presents Jekyll as hypocritical. The transformation into Hyde is portrayed as painful and grotesque, as if to imply it was a punishment for the hypocrisy. So horror of the spirit is a good quote because that is the way it was described when they saw the transformation. Science goes against religion, so Jekyll tries to change human nature, which was seen as blasphemous. "I am the chief of sinners, I am the chief of sufferers also," he says. So Jekyll is a secret sinner, and Hyde is the spirit of hell. This is again reinforcing the idea that Jekyll is a hypocrite in that he is respectable in public but sinful in private, whereas Hyde doesn't hide his bad side at all. Everything he does is for show and easily seen by everyone. So a bit of extra context with Charles Darwin. Darwin's The Origin of the Species was published in 1859 and greatly influenced Stevenson in this novel. The idea of the novel was that people evolved. The idea of the origin of the species was that people evolved from animals and not, as the Bible portrayed, that man originates from Adam and Eve. Darwin also believed in survival of the fittest and only the strong would survive. So Hyde was stronger than Jekyll, which is why he no longer needs the potion to transform, and also why Jekyll was afraid of him. Secrecy. So secrecy is probably one of the most important themes in the novel, because everyone in the novel seems to have secrets. So the whole plot revolves around Jekyll's alter ego, the fact that nobody knows he is Hyde other than himself. The other characters also have secrets, and they are not all revealed in the story. So to start off with, Utterson has done many ill things in his past, but we're not told what. Utterson is the narrator, and he is the one who is seen as having quite a good reputation and the moral high ground. So finding out he has secrets makes him seem less trustworthy. It is never explained where Enfield was returning from at 3 a.m. It makes the Victorian reader assume it was from somewhere scandalous that can't be added to the novel. Enfield's first encounter with Hyde was when he was returning at this rather late hour, so it does add to more mystery, as in when you are trying to just figure out where he was coming from. Also, both Jekyll and Lanyon chose to write about their experiences rather than speak them either to each other or to other people. Also, their letters are left unread until the end of the novel, adding to the secrecy and suspense. There is one other idea of secrecy that I didn't actually write down, and that's the fact that Hyde never gets to say his side of the story. So because of that, we never get the full story. We only ever see things from other people's perspectives, which does add to the mystery and secrecy as well. Stevenson uses locked doors as symbolism to represent people's desires to hide their secrets, and the symbolism of smashing Jekyll's cabinet door, which holds all his potions and ingredients, represents the breakdown of Jekyll's walls of secrecy. Was this video useful? So follow me on all my social media, which is just there. I'm a lot more active on Twitter than I am on Instagram, but I will respond to any messages. Share, like, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, or if you have any requests for me to do specific videos, leave a comment and I will let you know if and when I can do them. So I'll see you next time.